Hey everybody, John Wagnon here with Dev Central, and I want to talk to you today about application security and specifically where you would use a web application firewall. And here at F5 we've got more than one web application firewall. We've got our advanced web application firewall, or our AWAF, advanced WAF, and then we also have NGINX App Protect. It's a more modern, lightweight web application firewall, but they're both web application firewalls. So to kind of set the stage here a little bit, I want to talk about applications, and applications are at the heart of business today. And most companies utilize, sometimes upwards of thousands of applications to do their business. But certainly there are many, many applications that any business is going to use, right? And so you need to protect those applications. Those applications can be built in a number of different ways. But I'm just going to put kind of this spectrum, this line of what I'll call monolithic applications, and then go all the way down here to like microservices, right? Services. And I'm just going to put like a line down here. So these monolithic tend to be more legacy-based applications, and these tend to be more modern, with architecture and deployment methods and all that kind of stuff. So you've got anywhere from monolithic all the way down to a type of like microservices type application deployment method. And so the truth is as well, you don't just have a monolithic application, or you don't just have a microservices based application. You've got all of this probably, right? Or certainly somewhere in the midst of all this. So there are applications, I'll just put, apps right here that just run the range of this. So some are up here, some are down here, some are over here, whatever. And some are built this way, some are built that way, as it turns out. As this is happening, or as applications are built according to these different, application deployment methods or architecture types, that kind of thing, you also have kind of out here, if you will, attackers, and attackers are attacking all different kinds of stuff. And I'm going to put kind of on a spectrum here, you've got network-based attacks, and you also have application-based attacks. So this also runs the gamut. So a network-based attack may be something like a DDoS attack. Let's say you've got a botnet, an attacker with a botnet that's launching a ton of like a UDP flood, for DNS amplification or something like that, right? But then you also have application. I'll put like the OWASP top 10 here. That's a TOP 10, right? So you may have an application layer attack, something like an injection attack, like a SQL injection, or maybe cross-site scripting, or another one on the OWASP top 10 is insecure deserialization. That's a mouthful. But you've got those types of attacks as well. So the truth is, you have applications, and they run the spectrum from monolithic all the way down to microservices, and then you have attackers launching attacks, different types of attacks at all those applications. So it's this crazy scenario. It's this crazy world we live in, right? You've also got applications deployed in a variety of locations. So you've got everything from on-premises to cloud, and even in the cloud, you may have public cloud, you may have private cloud, you may have hybrid. So there's just a lot of moving parts and pieces going on with all this stuff. And so the question is, when we talk about a web application firewall, I'll just put, WAF over here. A web application firewall is necessary to protect your applications from all these different types of attacks, right? And so it's good to have, from just a general security perspective, it's good to have a layered security approach. So some applications need more focused security from a network perspective. So maybe there's a lot of network attacks, and so the network that it rides on, right, is being attacked. Like the actual network itself is being attacked. Other applications may need more protection, more security from the application itself. So the application is being attacked in the case of like these layer 7 type attacks, right? Where you're getting injected, or you're getting cross-site scripted, or any number of things. And so the placement of the web application firewall starts to come into question here, like, hey, where do I put my web application firewall? And the answer is it kind of depends on where the application lives, and it also depends on what you're concerned about in terms of the attack type. So it is true that, let's say you have a monolithic legacy type application, that's not going to change very often. It's not going to be updated 1,000 times a day, right? It's just not the nature of the way that it's built. Whereas a microservices-based application literally updated 1,000 times every single day with with DevOps practices and the whole CI/CD pipeline. It's where all this kind of stuff comes in, right? And so the question is, again, where do you put the web application firewall, or what kind of web application firewall do you put? And so the answer is, very likely you're probably going to need, you'll definitely need at least one web application firewall, but very likely you may need more than one, frankly. Just a quick statistic here. Some surveys were recently done and found that nearly 85% of all new workloads that are deployed in containers in like a microservices type architecture, but you're talking about like Kubernetes and those types of things. So it's a more modern based architecture, of course. And also along with that, over 80% of all internet traffic combined today is API calls. So I'll put APIs down here real quick. So APIs, right? And so if there's just API calls going on, and that's 80+% of all internet traffic, you need to think about how are you going to secure those APIs. So anyway, whenever you talk about web application firewalls, you can look at this in a couple of different ways, or kind of in a general way, in the sense that from like an F5 perspective, the advanced WAF, I'll just put a WAF up here toward like a monolithic type legacy application, and I'll put Nginx App Protect down here. It's a more modern, lightweight, application security web application firewall, right? And you can deploy this and seamlessly in these DevOps environments and all that. So a couple of different things to think about. If you don't have a web application firewall at all, you need to start looking at, hey, what types of applications do I have? How are they architected? Where are they deployed? And if you've got a monolithic, legacy type of application that doesn't change ever, and it just kind of sits there, then you could deploy a web application firewall, a really robust solution with like an advanced WAF that's going to protect that extremely well, right? If you've got microservices-based applications that are, in these Kubernetes clusters, and they're on the cloud and they're changing 1,000 times a day, then you're going to need a web application firewall that's going to be able to change with that very, very quickly. So it may be true that you're moving your applications from monolithic down to microservices. You're moving from on-prem to in the cloud, right? So you're kind of moving along this path, as a business, right? And so it may be that you have, you want kind of a security front door into your application world. And maybe that security front door could have a web application firewall policy in place there to catch all of just the general stuff, right? So like, hey, I don't want any SQL injection attacks at all, right, on anything. So let me put like a web application firewall there, like at the, at this security entrance point, if you will. And then you may deploy other web application firewalls closer to your applications that are deployed in a number of different places, right? So if you already have a web application firewall in place, but then you're moving to the cloud, you're moving applications from monolithic to microservices-based architectures, and then you start to think to yourself, hey, I really would love to have a web application firewall, very close to this service, and then very close to this service, and very close to this. And by the way, the reason you would want to do that is you can really start to get granular with how that specific web application firewall policy protects that specific service. So it's something good to think about in terms of, if you've got a lot of different services or a lot of different applications, the question becomes, hey, are there some things that I want to protect, all of those applications against? And the answer is yes. And so you can put like this really robust web application firewall solution there and protect all of kind of the general attack stuff that would affect everybody, right? But then to put that same exact solution, next to or close to an application that you may not need all of that robust security policy at every single application. And also from a general perspective, it's good to deploy the security, the web application firewall, as close to the application as you possibly can. That's just a good security mindset to have, best practice. So as you start to deploy, more modern applications, microservices, then the NGINX App Protect web application firewall is going to be a really good solution for you to say, hey, I can deploy this right next to this application or this, service, and then I can deploy another one over here and another one over here. So you can just deploy these all over the place, and you can have, different specialized policies for each of those things. And it's like I said, it's very lightweight. It's a modern web application firewall that keeps up with those DevOps practices. It operates seamlessly in those DevOps environments, so you can deploy these inside any of these modern architecture environments. So again, just kind of a recap really quick. You've got applications all over the place. They're deployed in a number of different ways. You've got attacks coming in across a spectrum of attack types or attack vectors, if you will. And so your web application firewall deployment needs to match what's going on with your network. So the truth is, number one, you need a web application firewall, but the truth also is just because you have one in place today doesn't mean that is doing all of the work that it needs to do for all of your applications across all of this big spectrum, right? And so the truth, as you move to a more modern based approach for application deployment, then you want to look at the NGINX App Protect web application firewall to be able to deploy that along with all of the application points that you're deploying. So anyway, it's good to keep those apps safe out there. So I hope you've learned a couple of things here about web application firewall, where to deploy them, and where one might make sense or where more than one, frankly, is going to make sense. So thanks for watching this Lightboard lesson video with us today. Hey, if you like this thing, you can click up here on our Dev Central logo and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we'll see you guys out there in the community.